Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of Tales from a Retro Gamer. Today I'm going to be going through and showing you some stuff from my Donkey Kong collection. I've got quite a decent amount of stuff here, box O Donkey Kong stuff, and I'm going to be showing you this in no particular order and just completely unscripted. Just going to go through some stuff, tell you where I got it, and a little bit about each item. Thank you so much for watching. So first of all, on the top of the box here is the Video Master's Guide to Donkey Kong. Now back in the day, before the internet and online guides and all that stuff, before YouTube, if you wanted to know how to play your favorite games, you either watch somebody in the arcades or on their home console, or you bought a book like this. This is the Video Master's Guide to Donkey Kong by Steve Sanders. As some of you may know who he is from, like Chasing Ghosts and some of the different video game documentaries. He was a high scorekeeper back in the day. A rather controversial one you might look up, Google, search Steve Sanders Donkey Kong. Anyway, an interesting book here. I bought it from Jeff Cooper, a friend of mine who formerly had the title of the Oklahoma's largest video game collection. He sold me this for just $5, which is a great deal. He could have got more on eBay, but he's a good friend. Very nice of him to do that. The Video Master's Guide to Donkey Kong, cool little paperback with basically drawn illustrations and how to play the game, different tips, tricks, and strategies. There you go. What else we got here? So this is one of the really cooler items in my collection. It's basically a hack of the NES Donkey Kong, but to include the conveyor belt level, which is missing on this version. It also includes the animated intermissions. It's an excellent port of the arcade game, but taken off the the NES port. It's just an NES hack, but with added features that didn't come with the original NES version. So very cool. I got this for only $2. I bought it at a comic book convention a few years ago, a Minicon, and the guy just had a box of random stuff. He didn't even seem to care or know much of what he had, and I just picked out a bunch of stuff, and he's like, $2. This is a great deal. I haven't looked it up on eBay, but homebrews tend to be a little pricey, and especially a really quality like this one. I imagine it goes for a lot more than $2, but I'm definitely not selling it. I love having this in my collection. Let's see what else we got here. Speaking of NES Donkey Kong, I have Donkey Kong Classics. That's both NES Donkey Kong games of the two climbing Donkey Kong games, the two originals, Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. It's got both of those in one nice collection. I love the orange box and the cartoonish artwork, and it's neat to have both games, which were released individually in the Black Box series, in one cartridge. A good deal. I bought this at Funko Land back in the way. It was the late 90s, so I did get it at Funko Land before they became GameStop, and I think I paid about $8 for it, which is obviously an excellent deal in the box. Really neat. Love having this in my collection. Let's see what else here. Donkey Kong 64 for the Nintendo 64. Now this game, I like it, but it was a little disappointment. What I was wanting was more Donkey Kong Country. I really love the side-scrolling platformers, Donkey Kong Country, the 3 games series on the Super Nintendo, and I was hoping Donkey Kong 64 would be more of the same platforming, that kind of 2D platforming action, but it was in 3D, as games were going that way at the time with the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64. 3D gaming was all the rage, and Donkey Kong 64 went that route. It's more of a collect-a-thon, a collect fest, more of an open world adventure, more so at least, more non-linear than the Donkey Kong Country games. I do like it. It's a good game. It's very high quality. It's designed for the N64 Rumble Pack, and it requires the N64 expansion pack. So, it's a high-quality game. It's just not quite what I was looking for. But, again, I'm glad to have it. Not going to get rid of that one. Let's see what we've got here. This DVD I picked up at a video store a couple of years ago that was just kind of getting rid of some of their extra DVDs. Donkey Kong Country, The Legend of the Crystal Coconut. I got it at Family Video for just like $2 in a clearance bin. I haven't actually watched it yet, but pretty neat looking. It's kind of faded on the cover. Some of their movies they would put by their window over time would fade. Available for rent. They would have the covers face out by the window, and the sun would fade them. But, for $2, you can't go wrong. Heck, maybe I'll even watch it one of these days. Let's see here. So I have a boxed version of Donkey Kong for the Intellivision. I got this for $2. I think at Half Price Books or somewhere. It only has 2 of the 4 screens from the arcade game. Kind of a disappointing port. Not even as good as the Atari 2600 if memory serves. But, you know, it looks neat in the box, and, you know, like Coleco branding, Coleco games, a lot of them, most of them, have the arcade, you know, cab on the box, so that's pretty cool. And let's see here. Speaking of ports of Donkey Kong, I have the boxed version of Donkey Kong for the Atari 7800. Now, I bought this online back in the late 90s when I first started really buying stuff online. There was a closeout factory that, you know, that would have warehouse finds and stuff, or a closeout business, I should say, that would sell, you know, just warehouse finds and things. And there were often a lot of Atari 7800 games for about, you know, a couple of bucks a piece, and then they went down to like $1 each if you bought a whole bunch. So I bought a lot of my boxed Donkey Kong, or a lot of my boxed Atari 7800 games were from this closeout outlet. Now, it was a little bit of a disappointing of a port. I mean, it's a good gameplay-wise, but the sound effects are trash. As a lot of you know, the 7800 doesn't have the best sound for, you know, not the best sounding console, but it is a good port. It is missing one screen, just like the NES version, just like the ColecoVision version, but it does have 3 good screens, good gameplay. But like I said, the sound is disappointing. So if I play Donkey Kong for one of my older systems, I'll typically go with ColecoVision or NES. And let's see what else we've got here. Donkey Kong Jenga. Now, this is neat. This is one of the many Jenga variations. Apart from, you know, you've probably played this where you stack the little blocks, and whoever places the last block when it falls over loses or is eliminated. And with Donkey Kong Jenga, you play until the tower falls, but you move Mario. You each have a Mario character that you move up the building, so that plays a role. Holes at the ends of each block allow Mario to climb the tower. Spin for ladders, springboards, and hammers to help Mario climb the tower, but watch out for the barrels. And so whoever has their Mario the highest on the board or on the stack, when the building collapses, or when the stack collapses, wins the game. Whoever has their Mario the highest. So they're a little bit different. It's kind of neat that it has a little bit different gameplay than most Jenga games. Let's go to the awesome Donkey Kong Country trilogy for the Super Nintendo. These are some of my favorite games of all time, especially the first 2 games in the series, Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest. And then the third is Donkey Kong Country 3 Dixie Kong's Double Trouble. These are absolutely excellent side-scrolling platformers. They sort of kept the Super Nintendo alive and relevant well into the 90s. Around this time, gamers were getting ready for the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation, the newer era of gaming, the next gen of gaming, and the Donkey Kong Country series kept the Super Nintendo alive, kept it relevant with its gorgeous graphics and fantastic platforming gameplay. Sort of traditional platforming like Super Mario Brothers, but the gorgeous graphics and just the ability to collect numerous lives. I used to love playing these games with my wife. And I got the first 2 games, Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2. I bought those just at a traditional retail store. And then the third one, I didn't get right away because I don't know, I guess I just kind of played the first 2 so much that the third one, it just sort of passed me by. I'd actually gotten a PlayStation, I believe around that time. And by the time the third one came out or so, you know, around that era. But whatever the reason, I just didn't pick up 3. But again, Jeff Cooper, who I told you about earlier, who I bought my Donkey Kong book from, the little paperback I showed you earlier, he sold me Donkey Kong Country 3 boxed for $20, which is an excellent deal. This was a few years ago, so it wasn't as expensive as it is now, but still an excellent deal. Jeff's a good friend and always willing to, you know, if he's selling to a good friend who knows that, you know, they're going to play it and put it in their collection, you know, he's been more than happy to pass along a good bargain. Now, speaking of excellent games, one of my favorite games in my whole collection and one of my favorite Intellivision games is D2K I never I never know how to say this. D2K Arcade, DK2 Arcade, probably DK2 Arcade, but it's a really fun game. Not only can you play as Mario, you can also play as Luigi, and you get the original Donkey Kong screens, but you also get 7 other screens that add a lot to the mix. Very playable. So as you can see, it's got a lot of game variations there. You've got the mixer, twisted girders, the refinery, triple elevators, the eliminator. I mean, just excellent, excellent. Actually, it's 4 screens. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 9 screens total. So just an excellent, excellent game with really nice graphics. That's put out by Electronite. I'm not sure if this game is in production anymore, but if you can find it, I highly recommend it for your Intellivision. Even the control disc is kind of iffy sometimes on the Intellivision for some games, but it works extremely well for DK2 Arcade. I believe that's how you say it. All right, let's see here. So let's go to another excellent Donkey Kong game. This may be the greatest Donkey Kong game of all time, believe it or not, for the Game Boy. That's right, for the Game Boy, the best Donkey Kong game may be for the old Donkey Kong, or the old Game Boy handheld system. Crazy that I say that, but you can play it on your Super Game Boy, and it is enhanced for the Super Game Boy, which lets you play it on your Super Nintendo system. And you can see it has a little bit enhanced graphics when you play it on the Super Game Boy, that bottom screen there. So anyway, what this does, you get the 4 original screens from the original Donkey Kong, from the arcade classic, but it also has, in total, it's got 100 screens, and each screen beyond, you know, the first 4 have puzzle elements to each one. So it's much more challenging than the original Donkey Kong, at least in a different way, because it adds puzzle elements to each screen, which is really neat. I love Donkey Kong for the original Game Boy. Let's see, so I do have the King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters. This is a competition to, you know, for the world's highest score on Donkey Kong between Steve Wiebe and Billy Mitchell. They portray Steve Wiebe here as the, you know, everyman next door, the good guy, the good dad, and they portray Billy Mitchell as the evil villain. And I guess a movie needs a distinct hero and an obvious bad guy. And the movie does play loose with the facts, and it's a lot of the aspects of the movie have been debunked over the years, but it's still a lot of fun. It's dramatic, and it's an entertaining documentary, regardless of, you know, some things that shall we say, some artistic licensing with the movie. And I did find a stack of those one time at the 99-cent store. I've got about 40 of them. And I bought every single one of them I saw, and I've been selling them at conventions over the years for $10 a piece. Got Walter Data signed some, which was nice. And mine I bought when it came out, but a few years later, when 99 Cents Only store was clearancing those, I bought them all to sell at conventions. And ooh, here's a cool item, a vintage Donkey Kong item, the Donkey Kong 200-piece puzzle from Milton Bradley. Now, I found this at a garage sale back in the late 90s, when it was much easier to find this kind of stuff at garage sales, and it was less likely to go on eBay. This was just 50 cents at a garage sale. I've never actually put it together before, and I might eventually. I have put together a couple of video game puzzles, like Cubert, but as you can see, still loose in the box. Hopefully all the pieces are there. But I do hope to put this together at some point and put it on my wall. I like putting puzzles together and then, you know, gluing them to a poster board. So that could look neat in my game room. Hopefully I'll get to that at some point. Now, when my daughter was little, we used to play Donkey Konga with these bongos. And you hit the bongos. It's like a music rhythm game, kind of sort of similar to Parappa the Rappa or Guitar Hero, you know, just at least in that same genre. And you would hit the bongos to make the characters on screen react. And my daughter and I loved playing that when she was little. And we would play it for the GameCube, as you can see here. Well, I picked up, I got that just normal retail, KB Toys or somewhere. Well, I got Donkey Kong Konga 2 a few years later for much cheaper. This was like, they had stacks of these for $5 each, complete in the box with the bongos and with the game and everything, and thinking that my daughter and I would play it some more. But this game is still It's factory sealed, Donkey Konga 2. Sadly, maybe she got older, or now she's moved out, she's in college. But for whatever reason, we never got around to playing Donkey Konga 2. But we had a lot of fun with the first game in pretty kind of a neat genre, the music rhythm game. Let's get back to video. Donkey Kong Country, The Legend of the Crystal Coconut. Now, we got this, I believe, at Blockbuster when they were just selling some of their videos when my son was young. He watched this several times, and I've never actually gotten around to watching it. When my kids were little, some movies I would watch with them, you know, as something we could do together. But then some movies were just sort of like, say, babysitting, like if I would need to get some writing done or whatever, if I needed them to settle down for a nap. This is one of those movies that they would just chill and watch on their own, primarily my son Ryan. So he really liked that one a lot. Let's see, we're getting down to it. What else do we have here? I believe the last item on the list today is this issue of Electronic Games Magazine with Donkey Kong on the cover. Now, when I was a kid, I would read Electronic Games Magazine quite a bit. I read my copies to pieces. And I don't have any of my original Electronic Games magazines left because I just read them to pieces. I didn't get every issue because I couldn't afford them all, but I would read them. The ones I didn't get, I would read at the grocery store. And I loved Electronic Games Magazine, just, you know, fully illustrated. They're so nicely illustrated, such great production values, and so much information back in, you know, before the internet, when magazines and newspapers and TV were where everybody got most of their information like this. And I just loved this magazine. And this one was actually, I had to buy these later. I would buy these at conventions and on eBay and everything. I don't remember exactly where I got that one, but I do like the cover art, really neat, classic Donkey Kong stuff. And there you have it, my Donkey Kong collection. If you could comment below, what is your favorite item in your Donkey Kong collection, assuming you have one. And speaking of comments, last week I did a video on why I'm excited about the Intellivision Amico and got some really great comments. Asked you guys why you're excited about it. Tommy Tallarico himself, president of Intellivision and the brains and actually the figurehead behind the Intellivision Amico, he says, very informative. Thanks for making this. Always love your vids. Mad Max says, I'm 51. I grew up on the retro games. I will be buying the Intellivision Amico. I have many consoles, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PS1, Xbox Original, Sega, Nintendo, etc., but I still find myself playing my Atari 2600 more than any other. Really excited for this. Good job, Tommy Tallarico. One more comment. Pong by Atari Tim A says, started gaming in 1978 at the age of 17 with a Magnavox Odyssey 2 that I purchased for the family for Christmas. So he's coming at it from a dad point of view back in the day. A couple of years later, I purchased the Intellivision, which was a nice leap over the Odyssey 2. I'm really excited for the Amico. I'm 58 years old, and a system like the Amico has been on my gaming dream list for a very long time. Great video and take on the Amico. All right, guys, thank you so much for commenting. Thank you to all of you who've watched the videos. Thank you for clicking that like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.